They told me the desert would be peaceful. They lied. When I first arrived at WZRP 96.6, it was already dark. The kind of blackness that eats headlights. The road had ended 10 miles back, and the last gas station clerk just laughed when I told him where I was headed. "Ain't no one left out there," he said. "Not for long." The building squatted on the horizon like a decaying tooth, rusted, cracked, and surrounded by sand that hummed when the wind blew. The neon sign flickered above the door, WZRP 96.6, the voice of Red Valley. Only it wasn't much of a valley anymore. Just dust and forgotten echoes. Inside, the air smelled like metal and mold. Faded posters clung to the walls. The broadcasting room was small, lined with soundproof foam that peeled at the corners. My booth window faced the open desert, no movement, no lights. Just the transmitter tower outside, leaning slightly like it was tired of standing watch. That's when I saw the note taped to the console. Station rules. Written in clean block letters on yellow paper. Never play after midnight. Never answer calls from unknown. Keep the transmitter running, always. No signature, but an envelope with my name lay beside it. Inside was a short letter in neat handwriting. "Welcome to your night shift, Adam. Follow the rules and you'll be fine. Edward Haynes, station manager." I shrugged it off. Every job has its weird rituals. I started my first shift at 10 p.m., lining up my playlist, checking the mics, and hitting record. The hum of the transmitter filled the silence, steady and low. At 11:48 p.m., while I spoke about the dry heat and desert winds, the microphone hissed. It was subtle at first, just static. Then I heard a voice. A whisper. My name. Adam. I froze. Thought it was feedback. Checked the board. Everything looked fine. The voice came again, softer this time, like someone standing just behind me. "Adam, you shouldn't be here." The clock read 11:59. I cut the mic and stared at the second hand crawl toward midnight. When the clock struck 12 o'clock, the static stopped. The room fell silent, and the phone started ringing. The screen flashed, unknown caller. My pulse hammered. I remembered rule number 2. Never answer. So I didn't. It rang again, and again, 10 times. Then it stopped. When I finally dared to breathe, I noticed something. The clock now read 12:04 p.m. Sunlight poured faintly through the booth window, though I was sure, absolutely sure, it had been night a moment ago. I checked the log recorder. There were hours missing from my broadcast file. The playlist jumped from midnight straight to noon. Somewhere between those missing hours, the desert had swallowed the night. And I couldn't remember a single thing that happened. When I came back the next night, the studio felt wrong. The air was heavier. The static louder. There was another envelope waiting on the desk. Same clean handwriting. Same scent of dust and cigarettes. "You broke rule number 2. You answered when you shouldn't have. You've been heard, Adam. Keep the transmitter on at all times. Do not let it fall silent." My hands trembled. I never answered that call. I was sure of it. But as I read the note again, I noticed something new. Rule number 4 had been added at the bottom of the paper. 4. Never go below. I didn't know what below meant. There were no basements here, at least none I'd seen. That night, during my shift, I noticed faint murmurs bleeding through the songs. Voices talking under the music. Some laughing. Others whispering my name. Listeners started calling, asking who was on the air with me. I told them it was interference. But I knew it wasn't. Later, while adjusting the transmitter, I dropped my wrench, and it rolled under the back cabinet. When I knelt to grab it, my fingers brushed against a metal handle embedded in the floor. A trapdoor, covered in dust, marked with faded paint that read, "Authorized personnel only." I felt cold seep up from the edges of that door, like something breathing below. The phone rang again, unknown. This time, against every instinct, I picked up. A woman's voice came through, trembling, distorted by static. "He's not your manager. Don't let him in. The transmitter isn't sending, it's holding." Then the line went dead. The next morning, I found another note on the console. Fresh ink. No footprints in the sand outside. "Good work, Adam. You're almost ready for the real broadcast." And beneath the signature, for the first time, Edward added something else. "You've heard them now. Don't stop listening." That night, the static didn't sound like static anymore. It sounded like breathing. And sometimes, when I look at the booth window, I swear I see a figure standing outside, motionless in the desert wind, watching me through the glass. I didn't plan to open the door. I swear I didn't. But something about that last note, you've heard them now. Don't stop listening. It kept echoing in my head. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard faint whispers drifting through the walls of the station. A chorus of distant voices humming just beneath hearing. By the third night, curiosity won. It always does. The trapdoor was heavier than I expected. Rusted hinges shrieked when I pulled it open. A smell rose up, old metal, dust, and something sweet and rotten like burnt plastic. A narrow staircase spiraled downward, swallowed by shadow. The deeper I went, the louder the hum became. The air grew thicker, as if it carried sound instead of oxygen. My flashlight flickered, painting long shapes across the concrete. Then I saw them. Cassette recorders. Hundreds of them. Stacked against the walls, spinning in perfect unison. Every tape whispered. Not music. Not words. Just breathing. In the center of the basement stood a small control panel with cables running up into the ceiling, toward the transmitter tower. On the panel sat a single cassette labeled in neat handwriting. Edward. I pressed play. His voice filled the room. Calm. Gentle. You finally come down, Adam. Good. You were meant to. I froze. The transmitter doesn't send out signals, you see. It traps them. The voices, the energy, the ones who tried to cross over. We built it to contain them, a cage of sound. I backed away. But every cage needs a keeper. Someone to maintain the hum. To keep the silence from spreading. Mark before you, and now you. Static swallowed his voice. My flashlight died. For a moment, there was nothing but blackness and the faint whir of 1,000 tapes spinning in the dark. Then, a voice whispered right next to my ear. Stay. I ran. Up the stairs. Through the hall. The transmitter roared as if alive. I grabbed the main power switch and pulled it down with all my strength. For the first time, the station went completely silent. And in that silence, something moved. The walls trembled. A deep vibration shook the floor. From the booth window, I saw the transmitter tower glow red, then collapse into the sand. The air filled with screams, not human, not animal, just raw, static agony.